Hello everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel Gate Classes by the TechU faculties. I am Chandrapal Singh Inda and this is my brief introduction. Today we are going to start a new topic on heat exchanger of heat transfer subject. This is our first lecture on heat exchanger based on the GATE syllabus. This is an important topic from marks point of view, as nowadays we are having three papers each year, and there is a possibility of uh, at least one question from this topic in one of them paper. It the marks point of view, it varies from 1 to 3 marks each year. So it is an important topic for us, and it is also important for us as in many process industry it is required to exchange the heat between the two fluid. That device which make it possible means a heat transfer between the fluids, between the two fluids, and that device is called as a heat exchanger. So it is also important for us. We are saying that a device which exchanges heat between the fluids. So far we have studied about the heat transfer mechanism, and these mechanisms are: first mechanism is conduction. So in conduction, what we have studied, the heat transfer through stationary medium. The heat get transferred through the stationary medium, that is a conduction, and convection. So in convection, heat get transferred between fluid and a solid. In heat exchanger, we are going to study about the heat, how the heat get transferred between the two fluids. So let's have an example figure of the heat exchanger device. This figure is related to the or this is a figure of concentric tube heat exchanger. So there are two tubes. In first tube, there is a one fluid is flowing, and in another tube, and the another fluid is flow. And they exchange heat between them. So from the inner tube, we are saying that there is a cold fluid which is flowing and enters with a temperature Tc inlet, and exit at a temperature T0 inlet, T cold outlet. Here we are saying that the hot fluid is going to give a heat to the cold fluid, so the temperature of the fluid is going to be rise. And the hot fluid is entered at a temperature Thi, and cold fluid is going to exit at temperature Tho, which represent the exit temperature. So here we are saying that the hot fluid is at a high temperature going to give it heats to the wall, and this wall further transfer the heat to the cold fluid. So this is how the heat get transferred through the heat exchanger between the two fluids. Let's define the heat exchanger. Heat exchanger is a steady flow. It is a steady flow adiabatic device which exchange heat between two fluids by with or without their intermixing. So this is the definition of the heat exchanger. So if I have written that heat exchanger is a device that will transfer heat between the two fluids. So it is an adiabatic device. How? Adiabatic means the heat transfer to the surrounding is zero. Means this Q, delta Q is zero. Means it is an insulated device which is not going to transfer heat to the surrounding. And and for the analysis, we are considering it as a steady flow. Means the fluid is flowing inside the heat exchanger is a steady. So let's classify the heat exchanger. So ideally, the heat exchanger is classified into two categories. One is direct contact heat exchanger and another one is indirect contact heat exchanger. So let's start with the classification of the heat exchanger. So first classification is based on the nature, and this is based on the nature. The heat exchanger is classified into two categories, as we have discussed. That first is a direct contact heat exchanger. So in a direct contact heat exchanger, the heat get transferred between these two fluids by their physical intermixing. So due to the physical intermixing, there is a transfer of the mass. So here the mass transfer as well as the heat transfer is there in the direct contact heat exchanger. And for an example, the example of this type of heat exchanger is cooling tower, and we can say a desert cooler also. So this is a figure of cooling tower. This is a figure of the cooling tower. So let's understand how the heat get transferred between the two fluids. So here two fluids are air and a hot water. So this is a cooling tower, and it is a sump tank where the water gets stored. So in a steam power plant, after the condensation process, still the condensed water is at the high temperature, and this water is again required to recirculate in the condenser so that we can condense the steam in the condenser. So it is required to cool down that fluid which is at a high temperature. And here that we can say it the fluid is entering at a high temperature. So when it enters into the cooling tower, this fluid is spread into the atomization form. So it is spread in small droplets. So and air from the downward direction is allowed to flow to the upward direction. So when it become in contact with this uh, droplets of the fluid, so there is a mixing of the these two fluids, means air and the water. So this is how the temperature of the water get decreases and it settle down into the sump tank, and this is again recirculate to the condenser through with the help of pump. So this is how the cooling tower works. And similarly, the principle of the desert cooler, the principle of the desert cooler is also same. So there is a mixing of the water droplets and these environmental air. So this is a type of direct contact type of heat exchanger. So we are having another category which is indirect contact heat exchanger, where the contact of the two fluids are not required, as they are going to change their property and it is not required for the processing. So indirect contact type of heat exchanger are further classified into the two categories. So first is regenerated type of heat exchanger. So in a regenerated type of heat exchanger, the two fluids are allowed to flow alternatively on the material, and that material is known as a matrix. So in a first cycle in which hot fluid is allowed to flow through the matrix. So what happens? The hot water gives its heat to the matrix or this material. So what happens? The matrix store the heat from the hot water, and this time period is known as a charging period. Means the matrix is going to get the heat from the hot water, and after this charging period, the hot water is allowed to flow, and the cold fluid is allowed to flow through the matrices. So the heated matrices, which stored the energy from the hot fluid, is now releasing to the heat to the cold water. So this period is known as a discharge period. So this is how this type of heat exchanger works. Means in a half cycle, the hot water is gives heat to the matrix material, and in the half cycle, the cold fluid releases the heat from the matrix material. So this is how it works, and the performance of this type of heat exchanger is depending upon the matrix material. As if the matrix material having a high storage capacity of heat, in that case the performance of that type of heat exchanger is good. So definitely their performance will be depending upon this type of material. An example of this type of heat exchanger is heat wheel. So and heat wheels or thermal wheels or open hearth furnaces. So this is an example figure of the thermal wheel, in which we can see that the exhaust air, which is at a high temperature, first allowed to flow through this matrix material, which is this is given in the cross section, that first is allowed to flow through the matrix material, and exhaust gases leaves through this point. And in the next period, what happens? The wheel is rotated and it moves to the upward direction, where the surrounding air is going to in contact with this matrix material and gets the heat, and it get heated. So this is how it works. uh, and the second type of indirect contact type of heat exchanger is recuperator. So in a recuperator type of heat exchanger, the two fluid is flow simultaneously, and these type of these type of heat exchanger, the fluids are get separated by the wall. So these type of heat exchanger, example of these type of heat exchangers are radiator and condenser, boiler, etc. So to understand this type of example, let's have a figure in which this plate is a separating wall, and the both fluid is flowing in the separate region. So hot fluid is going to give it heat to the wall, so this wall get heated, and this wall transfer the heat through the conduction, and now the cold fluid is going to get a heat from this wall. So this is how the heat get transferred through the recuperator type of heat exchanger. So further, the classification of the heat exchanger is based on the direction of the fluid flow. So let's have the classification based on the relative direction of the fluid. The first category is parallel flow heat exchanger. In a parallel flow heat exchanger, the heat means the fluid is allowed to flow in the same direction. So for example, I'm considering um, concentric uh, tube heat exchanger, in which we can see that one fluid, which is I can say the hot fluid, is allowed to flow through the tube, and another fluid is allowed to flow, which is I can say it is a cold fluid. So the direction of the fluid are in the same direction, so the relative direction is same, or we can say the in the parallel direction. So it is known as a parallel flow heat exchanger. And another category of this type of heat exchanger is counterflow heat exchanger, in which the direction of the heat flow is in opposite direction. So understand this again, consider the same construction of heat exchanger, in which we can see that this is a hot fluid and flowing in the opposite direction. So this is a counterflow heat exchanger. Now there is another heat exchanger, which is the third category of this type of heat exchanger, which is a cross flow heat exchanger, in which the fluid flows perpendicular to the each other like this. So there is a tube side heat in, you can say, in there is a 9 tubes in a red color, and the tube side fluid is flowing through the tubes, and in a cross flow there is another flow in this direction. So this is perpendicular to the each other. So this is a cross flow type of heat exchanger. So further, based on the design, based on the design, we are again having the first category, which is a concentric tube heat exchanger, in which the the two tubes which is having a same center, and the fluid is allowed to flow through this heat exchanger. So this is a example of the concentric type of heat exchanger. And another in this category means, based on the design, we have another category, which is a cell and tube type of heat exchanger, in which there is a cell and another and there will be a tube in which the fluid is allowed to flow. So here is an example of the this is an this figure is an example of the cell and tube type of heat exchanger. So we can see here that this is a single cell, and there are two tubes. This is one tube. So this is one tube, and another is this. So there is two tube. So we can say this is a single cell two tube type of heat exchanger. So further, the design is expanded, means the cell and tube design is expanded, and we have multi cell and tube heat exchanger, in which for understanding of this, we have two cell. This is one cell, and this is another cell. So here we have two cell, and we are having four pipes: one pipe, second pipe, third pipe, and fourth pipe. So this is known as, or this is called as, two cell and four pass tube heat exchanger. So this is how we classify the heat exchanger. So let's have heat balance equation for the heat exchanger. So to understand this, we have a small elementary area from this, and this can be shown like this. So in the first part, the hot fluid is flowing, and in the second there is a cold fluid, and which is separated by the wall. So hot fluid temperature is denoted by Th, and the inlet temperature is Thi, and outlet temperature of hot water is Th out. And similarly, for the cold water or a cold fluid, this is denoted by Tc. The temperature is denoted by Tc, and inlet temperature is Tci, and outlet temperature is T cold outlet temperature. And mass flow rate for the cold fluid is m dot c, and for the hot fluid is m dot h. And specific heat, for the specific heat for the cold fluid is denoted by Cp C, and specific heat for the hot fluid will be defined as Cph. So we can find the heat transfer by the second law of the thermodynamics as that QH will be equal to the mh m dot Cph multiplied by temperature difference. So here the hot fluid inlet will be higher than the hot fluid outer, as the hot fluid is giving its heat to the cold fluid. And for heat transfer for the cold fluid will be cold fluid will be mass flow rate of cold fluid multiplied by the specific heat of cold fluid into temperature difference. So here we are saying that the hot fluid is going to give its heat to the cold fluid. So by the first law of the thermodynamic, we can balance the energy, that whatever the heat is given by the hot fluid is going to be absorbed by the hot fluid, cold fluid. So the cold QH will be equal to the QC. So this is QH or QC is the heat within the fluids. So now we are required to find the heat transfer by the heat exchanger. So means what is heat transferring between the hot fluid and the cold fluid. So we can find the rate of heat transfer through the heat exchanger device, which will be equal to the UA theta m. So theta m is the theta m is here temperature difference between hot and the cold fluid, and U is a overall heat transfer coefficient, and A is the effective area of the heat transfer. So here by the first of the thermodynamic, we will have that these two type of heat will be equal to the heat transfer through the heat exchanger, as we have considered that there is no loss to the surrounding. It is an adiabatic device. So where U is overall heat transfer coefficient. So I think this thing is theta m is not visible to you, as my video is up to this reason. So I'm writing to the this side that U is equal to the overall heat transfer coefficient. A is a effective heat transfer area, and as I have written that the theta m means mean temperature difference between the hot and the cold fluid. Mean means it is a mean of the overall heat transfer, as the when the fluid gets flow, the hot temperature is going to release its heat, and decreases, we will find the decrease in the temperature. So it is a mean temperature difference of the hot and the cold fluid. So that is denoted by the theta m. So we are saying for the heat balance that these all three kind of heat are going to be equal to each other. So this is how we are going to balance the heat. So next we have overall heat transfer coefficient. So in this page, we are going to find the overall heat transfer coefficient. So let's consider again that example, that figure or a small elementary area of the heat exchanger. So here to find the overall heat transfer coefficient, we have to find the heat transfer between the hot and the cold fluid. So directly we have written that the Q will be equal to the Q heat exchanger will be equal to the UA theta mean. So we have to find this value of the overall heat transfer coefficient. So now we are saying, so here in the hot fluid, and this is a wall, this is a wall. So there will be a convective heat transfer between the hot fluid and the wall. So there will be a convection heat transfer between the hot fluid and the wall, and further there will be a convective conductive heat transfer between the this in this wall. So there is a conduction heat transfer through the wall, and further we will have again convective heat transfer between the cold fluid and the wall. So by applying, or to find the value of heat transfer between the hot and the cold fluid, we will have that q will be equal to the that delta t at any instant and sum of the thermal resistance. So this delta t is th minus tc, so that will be equal to the theta m for an instance. So here we will have that ua will be equal to 1 by summation of r t. So if we know the convective heat transfer coefficient for the hot fluid, and convective heat transfer coefficient for the cold fluid, and this is denoted by the hc and hh, and I'm considering that the hot fluid is flowing through the inner side, so the area will be here that a inner, and the area at the outer side means cold fluid side, this will be a outer. So we can find the value of the thermal resistance. So this will be equal to means sigma rth will be equal to the, as we have three resistance here, one is convective resistance between the hot fluid and the wall, that will be written as 1 upon hh and a inner side plus r conduction plus 1 upon hc and a outer. So this is how we can find the value of total thermal resistance. So here our aim is to maximize the rate of heat transfer through the heat exchanger, so that maximum heat can transferred through the hot fluid to the cold fluid. Therefore it is required to minimize the value of R conduction. So our aim is to reduce the, or eliminate the value of R conduction. Therefore we have to choose the material of wall that having thermal conductivity high, or I'm considering that it is having a infinite thermal conductivity and small thickness, means wall thickness is small. In that case we are going to convert this equal to the 0. So this is our aim, but it will be there, means the resistance, conductive resistance will be there. So here we can have two types of means R conduction when the separating wall is a plain wall. In that case we are going to have that R conduction, we will have two type, in which we have d by k. In another case we will have, if this is a cylindrical wall, in that case we will have log r outer by r inner divided by 2 pi k and length of the cylinder. So this is how we are going to find the overall uh, thermal resistance, and we will have that ua is equal to the now we have calculated the ua, If the separating wall is a plain wall, in that case what will happen, that UA is equal to the 1 divided by 1 upon HH AI plus R conduction plus 1 upon HC A outer. If the separating wall is a plain wall, in that case the A will be equal to the A outer will be equal to A0, as it is a surface area. In that case we are going to have that overall heat transfer coefficient will be equal to 1 by 1 upon HH plus R conduction by A plus 1 by HC. So this is how we are going to calculate the value of overall heat transfer coefficient. We have one more thing in this heat exchanger, that we can also find the overall heat transfer coefficient for the inner side. In that case we are going to have that AI UI is equal to the overall heat transfer coefficient at outer side and outer area, that will be equal to the UA, as the theta m for all of these are equal. So we will have one more relation here. So by using this we can find the value of overall heat transfer coefficient at inner side or outer side. Now I am neglecting the R conduction, means conductance resistance, as we have considered that the material we are going to use for the wall is a high thermal conductivity and wall thickness is negligible. So in that case we will have R conduction is equal to 0. So in that case we will have that overall heat transfer coefficient U will be equal to 1 upon 1 upon HH plus 1 upon HC. So this will be a formula for the overall heat transfer coefficient. Or if we have outer side is a gas, means the cold fluid is gas, in that case we will have that HH is greater than, way greater than HC. So 1 by HC is so 1 by HC is will be way greater than 1 by HH, and we will have that UA will be equal to the HC. So here we can say that overall heat transfer coefficient is denoted by the lesser convective heat transfer coefficient. Now we have the calculation for the fouling of the heat exchanger. The fouling is a phenomenon in a heat exchanger that represent that when the continuous operation is there in the heat exchanger, in that case the impurities are going to be accumulate over this boundary wall or the separating wall. So this is a separating wall, as it continuous works, so impurities is going to accumulate over this wall. So in that case what is going to happen, it will affect the performance of the heat exchanger, and it reduces the thermal conductivity of the wall as well as the effective area of the heat exchanger. So so here we are going to have that it will put impact on the heat transfer, and it will increase the thermal resistance. So in that case we are going to have that RTH, that summation of RTH will be equal to 1 upon HH AI, this is HH and AI, and this is at outer side, plus R fouling at inner side and area AI, plus R conduction plus fouling at outer side and area outer, plus 1 upon H C and A outer side. So this and this, these two terms are showing the increase in the resistance due to the fouling, in thermal resistance due to the fouling. So this overall can be represented as that total RF is equal to the, means total fouling resistance will be equal to the RFI AI plus RF outer A outer. So unit of the RF will be equal to unit of RF. So this will be RFTH thermal resistance, and RF will be equal to the meter square Kelvin per watt. So the overall heat transfer will be here, that the Q will be equal to the delta T by summation of RTH. So now we can find the value of fouling and what it could impact due to the this impurities accumulation over the wall. So we will have for one formula for this, that RF fouling will be equal to the 1 upon means U dirty means this is overall heat transfer coefficient, overall heat transfer coefficient due to fouling, and this is overall heat transfer when we are not considering fouling. So this is how we can find the value of or effect of fouling over the heat exchanger. Let's have a numerical over the concept that we have discussed today. So the question is saying that a design of water cooled steam condenser has been made by pre-assuming that the overall heat transfer coefficient U is equal to the 5000 watt per meter square Kelvin. While designing the value, the engineer presumed that the flowing water is a very clean, and accordingly he neglects the fouling resistance. So later it was found that the cooling water is not clean, and that it has a fouling resistance of the order of, so fouling resistance RF is equal to the 0.002 meter square Kelvin per watt. So find the effect of the fouling on the condenser performance. So we have that RF is equal to the 1 by U dirty, means the overall heat transfer coefficient due to the fouling, divide minus 1 by U of overall heat transfer coefficient when there is no fouling. So we will have that 0.0002 plus 1 by 5000, that will be equal to the 1 by u dirty, and the value of u dirty will be equal to the 1 divided by, so to calculate this, in the previous class I have told you that use the virtual calculator and download it in your mobile, so that you can practicing to find, or practicing to use the virtual calculator during the gate exam. So here I will have u dirty will be equal to, so the answer will be, so here we can see that the only due to that much amount of fouling we are having or losing the about 90% of convective heat transfer coefficient, means overall heat transfer coefficient. So this is how the fouling factor put an impact on the heat exchanger. So for today I'm conclude our lecture here. So from tomorrow we will have how to find the logarithmic mean temperature difference or LMTD for the heat exchanger. So we will discuss in the next class. Till then, bye.